something a little bit different. I've certainly had fun doing this, so I hope you've enjoyed watching. Look, a lot like a bird. Tell me, look, 4, 8, 12. It's only like wood, so 3. Good morning. So this is the start of a new Sandra makes, and it's going to be a little bit different, so I'm quite excited about this one. So some of you have been watching for a while may remember that Lee built a bird box, and somewhere later Neil built another bird box. I'm going to go into the details a little bit later, but today I'm going to make a bird box, which I've never done before. So I'm looking forward to sharing this with you all and see how it goes. So I just want to say a little bit about, you're probably aware that different birds, when they're nesting, need different size holes. So there's littler birds and big birds and everything in between. So the one that Lee made was a 5mm hole, which is good for blue tits, marsh tits and coal tits. And then this is a bigger hole. This is a 28mm
32
hole. Oh, beg your pardon. This is the 32mm hole, which is a bigger one, which is good for the house sparrows, because we do have quite a lot of house sparrows in the area, and if you had a nuthatch it would be good for that too. Starlings obviously need a bigger hole, so that's 45mm, and then the robins need a big open space, like a big hole, a big oblong area. So and that's what I'm going to do today. If you did happen to have sorry, great tits, that would be the 28mm. There you go. Anyway, so just be aware there are different holes. You can obviously look up the information if you want to. So we're getting all our bits together, ready. So Neil's helping. I can't really feel myself do this, so Neil's helping. So depending on what tools you've got, there's different ways of making it. So if you do have a power drill, you can use that and screw all the bits together. If you don't, if you do want to do it in a more simple way, you can just nail it all together as well.
So these were done with the pins.
So Lee's, for example, was pinned together with a hammer. So you might need a hammer if you're doing it that way. You're definitely going to need some way, like some kind of pencil or pen to mark, so you know where to cut everything. If you are doing the screw method, you probably need to do little pilot holes, just so that you can not split the wood when you screw into it. So you might need those. Obviously we've got some washers to go with our screws as well. Obviously make sure that screws are deep enough to fit through a little bit through the other side, otherwise it won't hold up very well. And then you might also need clamps to hold your bits of wood together while you're building everything. And then we're going to also put some like a little protective thing, so you don't get loads of water dripping in the gap. And then yeah, that one's open, so we can also, that'll help just keep it a bit drier inside. You have got the option to put little holes in the bottom to let out any liquid that might need to drain. And what do I want to say? Oh yeah, so the reason for having the flap is so that you can clean it. So at the end of nesting season, you should clean out anything that's left, because there might be diseases in there that might, or pests that might make the next little birdies poorly. So it does need cleaning out each season. And then this one's just been tied together with a bit of wire, just to stop it flapping open with the wind. And then there's a bit of debate on the whole bird box making groups. So some people put a little post in there so that the birds can perch there before they fly in, but really they don't need it. So ideally you'll be placing them fairly close to a hedge so birds don't like to be too exposed, so that if you've got a nice overgrown hedge, that's perfect, and if the box isn't too far from the hedge, they can just fly fly straight from the hedge into the hole, so you don't really need the perch thing anyway. And there's apparently some debate still about if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But
so the perch debate is that a predator, so say a magpie, could get in there and it can start, especially with the fledglings, you can get either the eggs or the fledglings, and it's the predatory birds that can perch on there.
I don't think a magpie would get in that hole, but yeah.
No, but with a robin, but if there was a fledgling, now little baby there, and the magpie saw it, it would come in here and eat it, peck its eyes out.
That's nice. Thanks for sharing that, Neil. So anyway, so that's broadly the plan. So we've got a few tools here. For actually cutting the wood, we've got, you can do good old traditional saw. So you will need some kind of workbench way of clamping the wood to keep it stable when you're sawing it. You could use jigsaw and sort of cut the wood like that. But today we're going to use something else. We'll step outside. We're going to use today circular saw, and I'll come back to the bits in a minute. So I've got my safety glasses ready. We've got pencil to mark everything, tape measure to measure, set square, and workstation, workmate. And then for your wood, so if you go to the big stores, it's a bit of an expensive way to do this. You need rough sawn wood. We've got some here. If you can find a local wood supplier or a wood yard, you'll get it much cheaper. It tends to be longer lengths there, but they can help cut it down if you need to get it in your car. So this is 20mm thick rough sawn, and it's 150mm wide, and this piece is about 8 metres, but 7 metres
feet.
Beg your pardon? Apparently I should have been saying feet. I'm mostly working meters. 8 that would be very big. That would be very big. 8 feet would be a woodyard piece sawn in half, so it comes in 16 feet. But 7 feet would be more than enough for your box. And you want the rough surface because that's how the birds climb up when they're fledgling and they want to leave the nest. So, and I guess the parents need to climb in and out as well. Anyway, so that's the rough sawn wood that we're going to use. And I think we're about ready to roll. Right, so I'm going to show you how I did the marking out. It was quite lengthy, so basically the idea is that when you're measuring up, it's really important to measure everything twice so that you only have to cut it once. So I don't know about you, I absolutely hate repeating things. So when I'm working in a lab especially, I double check because I want it to work first time, because I hate repeating things. Same with woodwork, always measure twice.
And you won't get any wasted wood if you measured it wrong.
Yeah, anyway. Oh, we didn't mention before, if you get a good supplier, it should cost about £5 for the wood to make the box. I meant to mention that. Anyway, so again, to save wood here, the first section, you've got 200mm on one side, 25mm on the other side, and I've used
250, wasn't it?
200. Did I not say that? 200mm on the shorter side, 250mm on the longer side, and then uses something really straight, ideally set square, to get a nice straight line across. That's going to be the first side, and then they sort of flip it round effectively, so that's going to be the other side, the B side, and then so it's going to be 250mm on the longer side, but on the opposite side now, and the shorter side now here next to the long side, 200mm. And then you've then got a straight cut, so you can ideally use your set square to get the right way around. What am I doing? Yeah, that way around. So you make sure it's dead straight. And then, so I'm just messing around with the pencil here. So I'm not really a chipper. Anyway, just pretending. Anyway, so you measure again. This time, this is going to be the front of the bird box. So this is 200 on both sides, and then again, use your set square to get a nice straight line. So if we just look at our demo box that Lee made, so you've got the angled one, A side and B side, and then we've got the front. So in this design, it's got 32mm hole. So depending what kind of bird box you're going to do, that's where you'd either do the hole or take a piece out for a robin nest. But we'll leave it whole for now. And then moving on, we've got the roof piece. This is 210mm, same both sides. And then again, get yourself a nice straight line with your set square. So the reason the roof's a bit longer is so that any rain coming down is going to run off and keep the inside dry.
So you've got the overhang here.
Yeah. So that's why it's a bit longer, then you get the overhang. Then, so that's the roof, and then we have a smaller piece for the base. So the base is only going to be 120mm, but same each side. The reason the base is smaller is so it's going to sit snug inside. Ooh. There you go. It's a nice flat bottom. And then last but not least, we have the back piece, which is going to be 350mm. So again, same idea, mark each side, set square, nice straight line. So the reason the back's longer is so that you have an extra long piece here so that you can mount your box wherever you're going to mount it. Just be aware these boxes are quite heavy, so you'll need something quite substantial to attach it to. Obviously it can be a bit shorter or a bit longer depending if you've maybe not got quite that amount of wood, or if you just fancy it being a bit longer, so just as long as it's long enough. And then so that'll be the back. And then the whole piece altogether is about 133cm. So if you're not sure if your piece of wood's going to be long enough, you need at least 133cm, which is actually just under 4.5 foot in old money.
Okay, so quickly go through these measurements again.
So if anybody is unsure and wants to just get some clarification, do put something in the comments and we'll try to answer all your questions. If you want to have a go at this and you're not quite clear on anything, we'll just go through it again. So just as a quick reminder, here are the measurements again. So the first piece, the side, 200mm by 250mm. You can save wood by flipping that around, so you then got the longer side 250 against the short side and the shorter side 200 against the 250 longer side. Just saves a bit of wood, but not essential. But you just need two pieces like that, A and B, basically mirror opposites. And then you need your 200 by 200, that's going to be your front of the box, which will have your bird hole in or bird entrance in. You've got your 210 by 210, which will be the roof of the box, so your little bit bigger one for your overhang. And then you've got the base, which will be 120 by 120mm. It's going to obviously sit underneath. And then the back piece is the biggest piece, 350 by 350mm. So hold it all together and have somewhere to mount the box. Oh. Please. Right, so we're on to the next stage now. So you can use a regular saw, that's fine. I'm going to use this circular saw, so obviously a bit of extra safety, so make sure, well, either way, just eye protection is good. You've only got one pair of eyes, and if you are using a power tool like a circular saw, so keep it well away from legs, fingers and anything else. It does have safety features, so you have to obviously press the button in before it fires up, but just to be aware before you start, think about how you're going to do it, how you're going to hold it, make sure this is all firmly set up. I'm just going to put it down for a moment to show you a couple of things. So when you do cut it, it will still have quite rough edges, especially where you've cut through, so you will need to sand it in some form. We do actually have an electric sander that we've got removed here, so this one vacuums and collects the bits. So we've just sanded one side there just to show you. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to cut them all first and then sand them at the end. That's just to show you broadly what to do.
So if you've not got a power sander, you can use a file or sandpaper. So if you've not got all these tools, you can do it manually.
You can, yeah.
And then also when you're cutting, you should be able to hold on to that to hold the piece of wood. Be careful that if you don't do that, the piece of wood doesn't fall and stub your toe. You don't want the stub toe. It can be very painful unless you've got steel toe caps on.
But also, if you do have an assistant holding the end, make sure that they've got cut resistant gloves on as well. Don't any lost fingers or toes.
So do you want to show aligning the circular saw up?
Okay, so before we spring into action, so as you can see, the blade's covered at the moment underneath. That's for safety. The cover will come back when you start sawing. So there's a guideline just here. Neil's going to zoom in so you can see. Oops. So you get that really right on the line where you want to cut, and then it should get a perfect cut. And then you might also just want to check. So you need to start off with the blade just away from the wood, a bit closer than that, but just away from the wood before you start the machine going. But make sure it's on the right line, and then hopefully you should get a nice straight line. You can use the guide as well if you want to. Obviously we've got a couple of angles on this anyway, so we're just going to use the guide and then just cut through that way. Right, so here we go. So I'm just going to fire up the circular saw we're using, and off she goes. Too bad. And the next one. So good. Right, and the next one, mind your fingers. Hold that one, it's too small. I think with that. So this is the last piece now. So it's so you can do it with the manual saw, but this is definitely quicker and easier.
Or a jigsaw.
Or a jigsaw.
So I am just going to come on there. Sorry, I know it's Sandra makes, but I am a cameraman. Do you want to just explain about your dangly bits, because this is really serious. This is really important.
Just pop this down a moment. So So my dad's had some experience with this. I think Neil's also had an experience with this, but it's really important that, I mean, ties are less common now, but back in the day, like my dad certainly used to work with a lot of machinery in his shop. I'd pop down to just finish some work, had his tie on ready to go out, and he had what's called a drawing in accident, so the dangly thing, tie or whatever, can get into the machinery, and it can cause quite serious injuries and even loss of life.
You can strangle yourself. You notice
strangled. So what was just, which is a good point really, was I've tied it back now, but I tied back my dangly bits because there was a small risk it could have got caught with the blade, which would have been really bad. So
if you imagine those are now got up and the blade spinning round, that will just go up and that can come up and undrawn and ung.
Anyway, so it was a fair point, so I just took those back out of the way. We were going to say, so I've cut all the pieces now, and then I'm just going to obviously put down the circular saw and just sand off the rough edges, so you can see there where it's been cut, it's a little bit rough. So we're just going to smooth off the edges a little bit. That's the next job. So we're on to the next job now. So obviously you can just use a sanding block or whatever's easiest, but it's just again a little bit quicker with the powered sander. So it really is just to take off the rough edge where we've cut the sawn wood. So I've done that one already. Just a little. It doesn't need to be dead neat. It's only bird blocks in the end. Just the roughest off. So. Mentioned earlier on, you wouldn't sand the inside of the box anyway because you want that a bit roughened so the birds find it easier to scramble in and out as well. So try and beat the rain on this build now. Anyway, so we've got all our bits. I've just roughly put it together. So now is the time if you just want to do any little minor tweaks with your dimensions. This is the time just to check it. So nothing screwed it. That would be the roof. See if I can lift it off without knocking it all over. Thank you, Neil. So ideally the roughest side inside, although this is all quite rough. I'm thinking for me that the base, lift that, so that will be the front, just to say if you are making a hole for a round bird hole, do that before you screw it all together as well. In terms of the base, I'm feeling like it's just slightly too wide, so I'm just going to take off a couple of mil from the base so that it's a bit more square when it's all together. So I've just got a slight overhang on the side walls there, so I'm just going to make the base just slightly small. So we mentioned this is the front piece, so we need to make it ready now for this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this suitable for robin or wren or pied wagtail, one of my favourite birds by the way. And so you take off a whole section, so we've marked off about half the width that we're going to cut off, but we're going to keep the top section because in future we could put it back with a hole in for a different bird if we don't attract robins, wrens or pied wagtails this year. Okay, so we just trimmed off that couple of mil from the base, so it's just a little bit of a snugger fit, so that went fine. And then the next stage will be to start screwing it all together. So I've marked up a line about 10mm up because the wood's 20mm deep. So I'm going to go back halfway into the base, and then we're going to put 3 screws in. So we're going to use these screws with washers. So if you weren't doing this, you could countersink if you wanted to make a bit of a neater job, but we're just going to do it like this so it's easy to take apart as well. So we're going to make a little starter hole. So I've marked it off at 4, 8 and 12 centimetres. We use a drill to make up a little starter hole and then screw in the 3 screws, and obviously doing the same on the other side. So about 10mm up, 4, 8, 12. It's only light wood, so 3 screws will be plenty, so that's what I'm going to do.
And it's a pilot drill you got on there.
It's a bit wonky actually. Right. I'm not sure if I've gone all the way through. Yeah, I have.
Yeah, should be fine.
I'm just screwing through my starter holes and then taking it so I can just feel the tip of the screw coming through. One more on this side. So the box is coming along nicely. So if you didn't want to use the screw method, your simple alternative is just to use some long pins like these. So it's 40mm. And just nail it all together. So
Diameter is a dash 1.6.
1.6.
Yeah, pin.
1.6 watts. I'm not sure. Millimeters.
It's
them. Which is an early prototype, but we're going to screw these. So what I've done now is I've clamped the base piece in the workmate. Got obviously pre-drilled holes, and I'm just using another couple of pieces to get a nice height to keep everything nice and steady. And let's screw it all together. So it's quite soft wood, so it's honestly quite easy to screw together anyway. That's going fine. Oops. It's a little bit stiffer, but still fine. And there we have one of our sides onto the base of our bird box. It's quite exciting to start seeing it all come together. Just loosen that, and then we need to do the other side. Right.
Unscrew. There you go.
My able assistant. There's just one problem, Neil. How are we going to get it out afterwards?
Good point. I was just testing. Take it out.
I think it's in theory a good idea, but I'm a bit nervous about that. Just do it the way I was going to do it. But thanks for the thought. Right.
I'll let you screw that. I'm going to make a bacon buxy.
All right,
Bearer of gifts. What have you got, Sandra? This.
With the bacon.
There you go. There you are. How's that? Right, we'll have a 5-minute break, I think, and get a bit of food in your belly.
So it's slowly coming together. It's not quite straight at the moment, but it should straighten up once we get more of the screws in. So, but to modify the design, because the screws weren't actually full 40s, they were a little bit shorter. So anyway, so Neil's done countersunk holes so that the screws are further into the wood, so it just holds up a bit better. It's a bit wonky now, but it'll be fine. And then So we're just going to finish off. This is going to be the front, and this is going to be the back. So again, we just marked up where we're going to put the starter holes, and then they'll have to be countersunk now as well. Okay, so it's slightly more complicated than anticipated at the start. So the screws were slightly shorter than we thought they were. So you've still got a washer there. We put on an extra cover now. So what we've done is made a countersunk hole, and then we're going to put the assembly into the countersunk hole. So hopefully it'll look a bit nicer than just plain screws and holes. Anyway, so I'm just going to put it all together now basically and show you how it looks all screwed together. It started to look a lot like a bird box. So again, we've modified the design a bit. So we've got white screw covers on now with the washer behind, and then countersunk that in just because to make sure that the screws were going far enough in to hold properly. But a little bit of a unique twist. You can get different sizes of covers and things. You don't have to use the covers. You can even just nail it, as we said at the start. And so the next thing, so we're making the robin box. So that would be the if you ever wanted to make a round hole. So hang on to that if you want to change the design. The roof's going to go on like so, and then we're going to basically cut a piece of this to make like a little rain cover just along the top basically, and then screw that on as well.
And that, as well as the rain cover, because it's pliable, we could screw this onto situation. But if you just get the other one that we made, you can explain how it's going to work.
I think I did say at the start,
yeah,
but the idea was that it's just
acts as a flange and a lid.
easier
That's
to
it.
clean and get access if you need to.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah, so we've got the flange attached to the roof, and then the next job will be to make pilot holes to attach the flange to the back, more or less like so.
Okay, so what we need to be careful here now, you can cut, if you're really finicky, you could do a slight cut on here, which we're not going to. You could hinge this with some cheap hinges or a piano hinge, or you could just use an old bit of rubber inner tube, I think we mentioned, or anything really. So we just need to get this lined up now and make it all equal.
Fabulous. So we've now got 3 little bird boxes all in a row. So we've got design 1 made by our Lee, and nice and robust as that. A nice openable lid, but with a tie on it. I've got version number 2 by Arneil, with a slight modification that the base is now inside rather than on the outside, as you can see on that one, and with a nice, again, opening lid. And we've got the different holes for different types of birds we talked about at the beginning. And then version number 3, we've experimented with the countersunk screws and a bit of a different design, and a nice big hole for a robin, and in this case we screwed the top so that it doesn't blow away with the wind, but obviously if we ever modify it again we can just unscrew that. And then we're going to keep the other piece so that we could slot that in and make a different hole for a different bird if we wanted to. So yeah, it's all been really good fun making these different bird boxes. Neil wants me to tell you, if you've got any leftover wood, it should be enough to make even yet more bird boxes, should you so desire.
Or if you decided to sell them, what you could do is you could make 3 cuts of that, and then you could sell them with there's 3 different holes, isn't there? There's a 20, was that 21 mil, 32 mil, and 25 mil, and you could label them up for the different birds.
5, 28 and 32,
Yeah,
I think.
something
Remember.
like that.
But what you could do then is put a little metal clip so that you can attach in
Yeah,
each of the 3 different types as well.
yeah. Let's just go into that.
So we hope you've enjoyed this bird boxing Sandra makes. Something a little bit different. I've certainly had fun doing this, so I hope you've enjoyed watching. So I am going to do some more filming myself. I was about to say, yeah, so I will be doing a bit more filming myself, but that'll be probably now in the next Sandra Makes. But we hope you've enjoyed this Sandra Makes. Please do, any comments or questions about making these boxes, do put them in below and we'll do our best to answer. And hope you've enjoyed watching. If you did enjoy it, do give us a like and a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. And if you would like to subscribe, please do also subscribe. That would make us very, very happy. And otherwise, have a great week and we'll see you on the next Sandra Makes.